shit! Did you know you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I! I believe until proven otherwise, every man, woman, and child should hear this podcast, and that's why we talk to you, Internet! Better squawk Saul!
We are here to cover the 8th episode of the final season of Better Call Saul. This episode was called Point and Shoot, and I'm sure we're going to break that down because there are many reasons that fits this episode. I am Blazy Gardner. I have with me today Rachel, CosmoMom09, and Bridget, who is at Ain't My First Rodeo on Instagram and Ex-Prophecy Girl on Twitter. And lurking in the shadows is our fearless leader, Dave Cameo.
I'm a baby.
Oh no, it's contagious.
Today may be kind of short. Usually I have a lot of time to think about the episode, but I was in Michigan with Rachel this weekend, so leading up to the episode and following the episode, I have not had the headspace to think about it a whole lot. Watched it 3 times and I'm still like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about.
Okay, insert my theory here.
Yes.
Here's my theory.
Start off with a bang.
I read an article today from Den of Geek, and I apologize, person who wrote it, because I do not remember your name. The beginning of the article stated that the anxiety that this author felt for like the last month has been like up here. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to say that all of my problems go back to television because that's like really sad. But I have to say, it left off on such a like devastating moment. And then you're left for an entire month thinking about what's going to happen and what's going to go on next and what's going to happen to Lalo and what's going to happen to Kim and Jimmy. And is everybody going to be okay? And is Howard really dead, or can you just slap a Band-Aid on that bitch? Like, it's like all of that stuff comes up, right? And so you're like waiting this entire time. And also you're spending that time like mourning this loss of this character and that he's gone, and I'm going to get to the point where I can deal with that and it's okay and I'm moving on and we're going to move on. And then you watch this next episode and it's like, never mind, you're going to spend the entire episode focused on the fact that he's dead, and it's going to make you super sad, and it's going to make you hella sad about other stuff because you're going to get further into the episode and there's some things that happen that like relate back to Breaking Bad, and it's like, it was just all overall too much. So like, I'm with you on this like inability to process this episode. It's not that it was a bad episode. It was a great episode.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. But it's like, it's almost like too much. Like, it was the break coming at that point was like too much. It left too much time to like sit and churn over this and over and over and over. And it was like too long of a period of time to do that.
One of the podcasts that I listen to, because normally I would watch the episode several times and go back and watch some of the last few episodes, you know, and get a feel for everything. But I just haven't had time, like I said, or the headspace this week. So I cheated and I listened to a couple of podcasts and breakdowns. And one of the things they suggested was it would have been better if this had been the episode where we had the break.
Oh, it's too satisfying.
Well, it's, you know, because after that big shock, we've waited all this time. Now we expect another big shock. And I mean, frankly, Lalo getting killed was not a big shock. It was kind of what we all expected. We all expected Lalo to be killed in the super lab and be buried down there. Like, so actually I was watching something last night and one of the commenters said, by not subverting our expectations, they subverted our expectations.
It's true. During my watch with you, my statement was, why am I so stressed out? I know that Gus is gonna live. So like, why am I freaking out right now?
So we start with the opener, which is on a beach. One of the theories I threw out before the break was that they were going to make it look like a suicide, but I didn't envision it that way. I thought they would make it look like a suicide in the apartment. I didn't even think about them cleaning it and moving him somewhere else, or making it look like they were moving him somewhere else. But that was a beautifully shot opener. Another opener where we have no dialogue or words of any kind, or even actually any actual people in it. It's just landscape and music.
Yeah.
Beautiful and sad. Oh, as soon as you see that shoe washing up in the waves, I was like, my stomach. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's what they're gonna, oh man.
It was filmed on a beach in Malibu, north of Malibu.
Wow.
And it is the only time during the series that they have filmed outside of New Mexico.
Wow.
Wow.
Surprised they actually filmed on location. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Had to have that location. Had to have that spot, huh?
Well, I mean, they had to have beach.
It was beautiful.
I mean, yeah, it had to have beach somewhere.
Did you get any info on the music? Because I did.
I did not.
Well, so the music is mazurka in the style of Chopin, and it's played by Leslie Howard. A little info on what a mazurka is. It's basically Chopin kind of coined this term. It's basically Polish folk music or Polish peasant dance music, but refined for the age. So that kind of puts a shine on maybe some characters that kind of came from nothing and tried to become something.
Cool.
Leslie Howard is in the actor Leslie Howard.
Yes, maybe.
Leslie Howard played Ashley Wilkes in Gone with the Wind. If I remember correctly, he was actually a spy during World War II for the British, and I believe he was killed in
Like
action.
an actual spy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also interesting and sad, possibly, if there's foreshadowing. Okay, so next factoid. There's only one more. These were mostly upbeat, major scale type music, and they were made to go on ad infinitum, meaning like they were meant to be played continuously. You could keep playing them and playing and playing, or to fade out. So like when you hear that within the context of basically Howard's Requiem, in a sense, it was major, it was upbeat, kind of like the way I saw Nacho's opening sequence with the flower and the glass and all that stuff. I felt like it was more beautiful, beauty in the desert sort of situation. So I felt like Howard sort of like the show gave Howard that beautiful send off or something like that. I don't know if you feel the same way.
It's interesting that you say that, Dave, because I was just talking to Travis the other day and he had said something about we're listening to some song and it was like it faded at the end. And, you know, he's been a musician for many years and he was like, when they do that, when they fade out a song like that, a lot of the time it means that they didn't ever really kind of write like an ending to it. Like they don't have like a firm ending. It's like, so that's interesting that you say that because it makes me think like Howard didn't get an ending.
Right. Not
Right.
at least in the public view. Right.
Yeah.
Like they'll never find the body, etc. So if you want to go that way. So interesting choice
And-
of music.
And this lie that Jimmy and Kim have been telling is going to end up being the truth. You know?
It's going to go on forever. They can.
Yeah.
I think that to me was the saddest part of the whole thing was they can never ever make it right. Now they have to live with it forever. They can't ever rid themselves of it. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
I don't know why that makes me think of the fridge, by the way, in a sense. Like, okay, as he was emptying out the fridge, I'm like noticing like, okay, they look like Jimmy and Kim, but they're forever. The insides are all on the outside. Like in terms of like their soul or whatever it is that they are. Like, so on the outside, they're supposed to go to work and pretend like everything's normal, right? But they're never going to be the same.
I mean, how do you go back to that apartment and live in that apartment again?
How do you go to
I mean,
work and
how-
act like it didn't happen?
So one of the things somebody said in the podcast I was listening to was Mike told Jimmy to just paste a smile on and go back to work, and he can do that, but it's never going to come off again. He's going to paste that face on, and it's going to stay there for forever. That's Saul. He's going to paste that Saul face on, and it's just never going to come off again.
Kind of like the promos, right? With his face kind of like one way with the mask of Saul
the
Goodman.
mask, yeah. One thing I noticed was Mike said that Kim was made of sterner stuff, but it was Jimmy who had the presence of mind to come up with the story to get Kim out of there. And Jimmy was the one who was kept his head together. I mean, Kim was so distraught. Lalo had reminded her to put her shoes on, but Jimmy had the presence of mind to formulate a whole story and come up with all the reasoning.
I was so confused when he did that too. Honestly, I'm like, because I'm thinking, okay, whoever shows up to Gus's house is going to get shot because it's under surveillance. Like they're going to see someone walking up there. They're going to see the gun and they're going to like take down whoever it is trying to kill Gus. So I'm like terrified. I'm like, why would you send Kim to do that until, and then I realize it's to get her away from Lalo. And I'm like, holy shit. Like my brain didn't even go like get her away from Lalo. I'm just like, don't send her anywhere. Like, I was very confused. So yeah, Jimmy had his head on straight. So that's good.
I mean, do you think that he sent Kim out as a means for the best chance of both of them surviving? I'm kind of curious.
No,
I think
it was
he sent her out because he wanted her to survive. He didn't want her to go do what Lalo said. He wanted her to fucking run and just leave him.
yeah, it was
Interesting.
self-sacrifice.
Like you know, we talked a lot in our podcast about do Jimmy and Kim really love each other, and I think this episode proves that yes, they do. Because Kim, if she didn't love Jimmy, she could have easily split the fuck out of there and left him, but she didn't.
Right, told the cops, sped away,
Right.
done whatever.
And I mean, she didn't know. She didn't know that Lalo had left right after she did. She thought he was still there, getting ready to off Jimmy. So I mean, I would say yes. Kim definitely loves Jimmy.
So we established that Jimmy sends her away technically just to do whatever, just get the hell away because I should be the one near Lalo. And this is the question: do you think that Jimmy knows this is like Lalo wants to kill somebody, or Lalo wants to kill him? Technically, is that
Jimmy?
what he was sent there to do? Like, does Jimmy know that Lalo wants to end him? Period. There's just no way out.
No, I don't think he feels that way at all. I think he's just saying this is how I keep Kim safe regardless of what's going to happen to me. Maybe Lalo wants to kill me, maybe he doesn't. But either way, I'm getting Kim out of here.
Okay.
Because I never got the sense that Lalo wanted to kill either one of them, because he could have fucking done it immediately. I just felt like something was up with what he was having them do. Why would he send two untrained, unequipped people to go take out his nemesis? Like, he had to know it was not going to work. So immediately I was thinking this has to be
A
something
distraction,
else.
right.
Yeah, it has to be something else. Which is why, and I really wasn't worried when Kim went up to the house. I knew Mike was probably there, and they're not just gonna let somebody walk up to the door and start shooting. Like, I mean, I was like, they're gonna stop her. They're not. It's not gonna go down like that. So the whole time I felt like something was up, but I just couldn't figure. I didn't figure it out until it actually happened. But I mean, like, I was never really worried about Kim going up to the door or anything like that. We know that Gus isn't going to answer the fucking door there, you know?
Right.
So, you know, like there's no way Mike knows who she is. He's not going to let anybody, like, just come up and shoot her or grab her or kill her or anything like that. Like,
But there's all those other guys, and we don't know what happens to Kim.
But those guys were professional too. Like, they're not just random dudes that Mike picked up off the street, or, you know, like fucking low-level drug dealers. I mean, these guys are professionals, and I'm sure it would be way more dangerous for them to have a dead blonde lady on their front doorstep than to, you know what I mean? Like, oh, let's just kill this lady that came up to the door. Like, there's no way that was going to happen.
Plus, some of those guys did follow Kim for a while.
That's true.
So
Oh yeah.
you
that's
got to
true.
imagine they were on a rotation. So a lot of them probably knew who she was.
All of that went out the window the second we came back and started the episode. They did a really good job of keeping you in their mindset. Like, this just happened. You're barely hearing Lalo at the beginning, whereas you heard him at the end of the last episode. So there is a little bit of overlap. Then when Kim gets in the car and there's this otherworldly it haunts my dreams, this music. And then all the way, and then the music does change as she changes as she walks to the door. But it's still that, like, ominous, like, you don't know what's going to happen next, says the music. And like, so
jangly music.
Yeah, and so like in my head I'm like, I know all the facts that you're saying right now, Sharon D. But in the pit of my soul, it's going, I don't know what's going to happen next. And I don't like it. So like that's where I was at. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe she doesn't get killed, but there are things worse than death. Okay? Says the music.
I mean, I just feel like after the death of Nacho and the death of Howard, that they weren't going to take out another main character right away either, you know? Like,
Famous last
I
words.
do have the benefit of only I did have the benefit of only half-ass watching it the first time because it took us 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
So like I kind of knew
Okay.
to go when I actually watched it. I had a much better grasp on it.
You're like, what's going on? Oh, she's okay. She's all right. Cool.
Like,
Meanwhile, I'm
we
like
start.
shitting my pants watching this thing straight through without stopping. And so you're nowhere near where I am.
Look at what's going on, and then like 15 minutes later, we'd be like, "Oh shit, we just missed all of that."
What just happened?
You have
What
ice
just
cream?
happened?
Let's get ice cream. What? Anyway.
Let's go to bed. Let's get this over early because we have to get up really early at like 5:30, and at 12:30 we're still trying to watch the fucking shit.
Yeah. Oh,
Meanwhile,
gosh.
Dave is crying.
So in the scene where Kim goes to Gus's house, that is an exact callback to when Walter White goes to Gus's house to kill him. She parks in the same spot. They use the same overhead shot. This was confirmed in the Insider podcast. In that episode, Walter was on his way to kill Gus, but he got a phone call that stopped him. But and in this one, Kim is going to kill Gus, but it's Mike that stops. So it might have been Mike on the phone in the episode where they stopped Walt.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's great.
That'd be even better, yeah.
Bonus fact, the scene of Kim raising the gun to shoot and kill the latter, meaning Gus, I guess, is also reminiscent of Jesse's reaction to kill Gale as well, although Kim wasn't as hesitant. Interesting.
no, Kim, she was gonna do it. She didn't want to, but she had that gun out. She was gonna pull that trigger. Like she was gonna save Jimmy.
Or she was gonna kill that Gus lookalike. I love it. She's like, I'm here to kill him. And you're like, no, you're not.
By the way, on further inspection up close, yeah, he does kind of look like it.
Well, the description that she was given, he matched the description perfectly. So
yeah,
like even in demeanor, he kind of looked at her like, I'm Gus Fring. You know, like.
The chair that Jimmy is tied to is the same chair that Kim used to block the door a few episodes ago when she was afraid of Lalo.
Nice.
The first scenes with Jimmy and Kim together are the scenes where Bob Odenkirk had his heart attack.
Yeah, I read that too.
I was wondering. I had read something, but I didn't know which scene. Okay.
I should mark these trivia facts off from the wiki because you're nailing it, Sharon.
So whenever they were talking about who was on set when Bob had his heart attack, they would say Ray and Patrick Fabian. Nobody ever mentioned Tony Dalton. He was there too. But they didn't want anybody to know that they were filming scenes with Ray, Bob, Patrick, and Tony all together in the same room. So it never came out that Tony Dalton was a part of that.
Smart. So smart.
Wow, what an incredible secret to keep. They did a good job. Good job, guys.
Right.
Except for that one photo of Patrick Fabian's red hair that nobody thought of. Nobody saw.
But that was so... It really could have been anything.
Yeah, I mean, in the way that if you really looked at the picture, it almost looked like lettering. The red was almost like part of the lettering on the wall behind him. And
one more fact about the chair. It says here, Jimmy... By the way, I'm reading this all from the BreakingBadFandom.com wiki. So it says, Jimmy collapses sideways on the ground whilst tied up in his chair, crying in shock and grief upon facing Howard's corpse. He did this in a similar fashion to how Gus, Walt, and Jesse reacted to their respective losses of Max Arcenega, Hank Schrader, and Andrea Cantillo. Interesting.
When Jimmy says, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio, that of course is a direct echo of the line he says in Breaking Bad. It wasn't me, it was Ignacio. Which, okay, so now we know Lalo has been dead for 2.5, 3 years, something like that. It's been a while. But Jimmy is still terrified of him. It is a shadow he still is carrying over his head. He is terrified of Lalo, even though Lalo's been dead for 3 years. When they went to write this, of course, they reverse engineered the story to fit that throwaway line that nobody thought anything about. I was listening to them on the Insider podcast, and Vince Gilligan was like, we didn't even know Saul Goodman was going to be an important character at this time. You know, he had just been introduced. Because Lalo, what a character Lalo was. Like, terrifying, but so charming.
But so
and funny.
charming,
So,
right?
so good looking.
Right?
He is the peasant dance refined. Hello.
I mean, even the little laugh as he's dying, he smiles and laughs, and that is just the most Lalo thing ever. It was just, it was the most Lalo thing ever.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about that actually, because that haunted me, watching him and like he's
smiling,
blah, spitting up blood, and then all of a sudden he smiles and laughs. And then I was thinking, what is going on through his mind? Because throughout this series, you're kind of wondering what his motivation is. Now, I want to stand up and say I was wrong about him power grabbing. It's the exact opposite. I don't think he does this for prestige. I don't think he does this for trying to climb the ladder. When he laughed, and maybe you guys can tell me what you think, I saw a man who did all of this because it was kind of like Jimmy and Kim, because he thought it was fun. He likes hunting people down. He wants the excuse. And so when I saw him laugh, I'm like, he's like telling Fring, nice play.
I thought it was more like, I was right. I may be dead, but I was right about everything. Mm-hmm. And he was able to find out that he was right about everything before he died.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was that, and like a little like this. So this is how it ends. Mm-hmm. Like,
and I think Gus,
I can find humor in that. That Gus
Right.
is the one who took me out. Like, he did finally win in this battle between the two of us.
such a Lalo way to die. I think Gus meant every word he said about Don Eladio too. Saying all of that, yeah,
So
he
good.
meant every word of it.
Why do you think Lalo let Gus keep talking instead of just shooting him?
Well, I think at that point, Lalo thought he had the upper hand. He didn't see how Gus was going to get out of this. So he was going to let Gus just keep talking out of his ass because in Lalo's mind, Don Eladio is going to see all of this.
Right. Which is a continuation of a comment you had, Sharon D, in the last episode. Everybody thinks it's going their way until, holy shit, it doesn't.
It's not.
Right.
Right. And I think Lalo could find irony in that too. Maybe that's why he's smiling like, you stinker,
stinker.
you got me.
He's getting ready to kill an earner, right? Someone who brings a
Yeah.
lot of money into. I feel like Eladio and Balso would have been like, whatever, you're bringing money in, we don't give a fuck what you're doing, you know? So if he's going to take out somebody who's bringing that much money, he needs to have all of the excuses and evidence that he could have. So if he has Gus cussing out Eladio and calling him a fat, greasy, bloated pimp, it's going to just make him look, it's just going to make him look a little better in the end.
Yeah. And that's specifically why, like, all of that together led me to the conclusion that I had about Lalo, is that he just, the veneer is charming, but inside he's like unbridled id. He just needs an excuse, and he loves doing it. He loves killing. He just needs somebody to point him in the right direction.
But he doesn't kill just to kill, though. Because
No.
if that was the case, he would have killed Marguerite. He could have killed the dog. You know, there's lots of people he could have just taken out if he just wanted to kill. So, I mean, I'm not saying I think he enjoys it. Maybe it's not so much that he enjoys it, or it's just something he does. Like, he doesn't get any.
He's
He doesn't want to
unfazed
kill.
by it for
Right?
sure.
He doesn't want to kill, but if he has to, fine.
Well, I guess that's why I compared him to Jimmy and Kim, because it's kind of like, well, you can't con everybody. It's got to be special. You got to have, there's got to be ceremony to it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, there's got to be setup, and then you crack the ball, you know, like with your bat. You got to have a pitch. Just don't start whacking at the catcher.
Did anybody notice that Lyle was singing the Pollos Hermanos song
Yes.
to La Cucaracha?
Beautifully
Yeah.
too, by the way.
It was great.
Yes.
What a
Oh, yeah.
bright spot in this
To La
episode.
Cucaracha, which of course is how Lalo
What
thought
Lalo
about Jimmy.
calls Jimmy.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you guys know who the actor Dave Thomas is. He's a comedian. Lyle is.
Oh, that's the
is
guy
played by
who
his
owns
son.
Wendy's.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
We have the original Wendy right here. Oh,
I
you
guess
dirty rat.
It fits that Lyle would be in fast food. No, the actor that plays Lyle is Dave Thomas's son. I just thought that was
That is
Oh,
wild.
wow,
Oh my
okay.
God. Oh.
Wow.
Wait, so on that note, I was wondering something, and maybe you can clear me up on something, because I was wondering, obviously in Breaking Bad, Los Pollos Hermanos is a chain of restaurants, right? But it didn't occur to me until this episode that I think in the Better Call Saul universe, Los Pollos Hermanos is just the one location. Am I wrong?
I think so too.
It wasn't
I
until
mean,
this episode where it kind of made sense,
right.
the store, you know?
Well,
right?
except that he had another store because he blew one up. Remember?
Right,
so maybe
right,
he had to have
right.
at least a couple of them. But I don't think it's obviously not as big of a chain as it is in Breaking Bad.
Right. And it's not as much of an enterprise, and then it grows up into franchises and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, because he has all that sweet lab
cash.
money coming in.
That meth money coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning of the episode, Lalo makes Kim and Jimmy sit down so he can tell them what they're going to do. And then at the end, Mike sits them down so he can tell them what they're going to do. I just thought that was an interesting little parallel.
Doesn't like Saul Goodman sort of do that during Breaking Bad with Walt in some instances? I think so, right? I'm like, now it's sort of like, I can't remember exactly what, but it's kind of
It's been a
similar.
long time since I've watched Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I kind of binged it, and that was a few years ago.
I'm faintly recalling Saul telling Walter what to do. It was like, okay, here's what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then he says stuff.
That sounds like
Well, I mean, I
vaguely
know
familiar.
Mike comes to clean up after Jane's death, which is also very much a parallel to Jimmy and Kim.
That was Aaron Paul's
Jane-
girlfriend, Jesse's girlfriend, Kristen Ritter.
Who dies in her own vomit, right? Choking on her own vomit.
The one thing that I really wanted to talk about is I think is the most obvious thing, but it's the lab is now the tomb essentially for Lalo and unfortunately Howard, that was really sad. The scene in which Mike is kind of like closing everything out, I don't know, it made me feel really sad because it's like, spoiler alert if anyone hasn't watched Breaking Bad. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. If you haven't, you're an idiot. But
No, you're not. Listen to the podcast more.
I mean, listen to it while I berate you idiot, you absolute moron. Okay,
We're no strangers to this.
So Mike ends up dying, and there he is in the lab, and the lab ends up exploding, and Tyrus is gonna die also.
In El Camino, was
so
it?
it's like
Or-
all of
Yeah.
this, like death is just like looming in this lab, and it's just hard. It's just hard to
Death
watch.
Tomb.
One of the showrunners said after this episode, you would never look at Breaking Bad the same way again. It would change the way you see Breaking Bad, and it's true because now every time you think of the lab, you're going to think about Howard and Lalo being buried underneath. Which Lalo, yeah, whatever. But thinking about Howard being buried under there is like it's like a gut punch. Also, props to the makeup department for making them look so dead.
Seriously.
Yes. Yeah. Good job, guys. Good job. That was ew. That was so gross and awesome. Yes.
It makes me think that Lalo haunts the damn lab. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like a ghost, like a phantasm
Lalo
sort of
was the
situation.
fly.
Terrible. The fly. Oh my gosh. I do
I
remember that.
love that. I love that. I love that so much.
So this episode was 50 minutes and 50 seconds, and that made me immediately think of, oh, that's funny because, you know, we're midway into the final season, 50-50.
50,
It's kind of an
Oh
interesting,
my gosh.
because leave it to them to like literally go on the nose with 50 minutes and 50 seconds to kind of fuck with you. Like, oh, yeah,
Oh, they would do it too.
halfway through the end, guys. Oh, sorry.
5 episodes left, guys.
Before Lalo digs into Jimmy and he says, hey, you're part of this. You're the one who helped Ignacio. Hell, you know, whatever. He calls him a chichifo. The chichifo is a male prostitute. So it's kind of like a wind up before the pitch. Like if you knew what that meant, it's like, oh, he's gonna. But does that sound like something Saul Goodman would do? Is Saul Goodman a chichifo? In a sense,
Yeah.
like he kind of is. He would play both sides of the aisle just for money, and because it stuck with me. It was like, oh, but is he wrong though? Is Lalo wrong technically? Maybe not yet, but he would be right. So he's not a bad judge of character at the end of the day.
No, I mean the thing is, Lalo is a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is. We have 3 geniuses across the universe. We got Gus, Lalo, and Walter. Gus bests Lalo, and Walter bests Gus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lesson we take from that is that it's good to be stupid, y'all.
Yeah, just be stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
And everything will be
Jesse.
great.
Jesse is the one that survived, right?
Right? Just be stupid.
Live
be
dumb.
dumb and no one will try
Just
to kill
live
you.
dumb.
To quote the
fine.
poet, science bitch.
Science.
Science, bitch.
So it looks like, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but it looks like the next episode is called Fun and Games.
Ooh.
So I hope it takes place at a carnival.
I feel like that's like going to be sarcastic.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very
exactly what I'm
sarcastic
thinking.
title. Yeah.
No, they go for a fun
They
game of
go to a
laser
carnival.
tag.
And it's a
Yes.
church carnival, and it's all for
Laser
charity.
tag. Just what they want to do. Shoot guns at each other. Yes.
Sponsored by Los Pollos Hermanos.
Laser tag has a Danny, so they can launder their money. Launder their sandpiper money.
You know what that makes me think of, though? Okay, so remember when you were saying how Mike sits them down is just like when Lalo sits them down and Kim and Jimmy are like all morose and shock and all that stuff. I had this really wild thought because this season has done a good job of showing us mirrors of things, right? So when Mike was sitting Jim and Kimmy down, not instantly, but on my second watch today, I thought of when Jimmy and Kim were like sitting down the Kettlemans, and you as the watcher are kind of looking at the Kettlemans like, what the you were obviously in the wrong. You were cheating these people out of it. But then I thought Mike is literally setting them down, and they're the Kettlemans right now. Like, you obviously influenced how this is going to play out. Like, but obviously they're not the Kettlemans. They feel morose. They're not pretending like nothing happened. No, we're the heroes of our own story. No, they're not. But I just thought that was a great mirror of like how the season shows what the other side looks like. Oh, these are supposed to be your heroes, right? Ooh, you know?
The Kettlemans are the heroes of the entire show.
Right, if it was written by them.
I also, okay, before we're done, I have to say the real reason Gus killed Lalo is because he got his shirt dirty.
I saw that and I'm like, the only time he showed anger in his face was when he was face down in the dirt. He was like, oh, I just pressed this shirt. And it did look so nicely pressed.
I loved it. I loved that he just got shot in the chest. And even though he's got a bulletproof vest on, and he still takes the time to unbutton his shirt instead of just ripping the shit open and like popping the buttons off. He's like meticulously unbuttoning each button. I would have been like,
right?
Like
You're not going to wear that shirt again,
I
right?
mean, you have more shirts, just rip them off.
It's dirty. It's got a bullet hole in it. It's like...
But you know what?
You're not wearing that again.
That says so much about his character, right? Like the only time he lets loose, and I thought that might have been another reason why Lalo kind of laughs a little bit, is because like even throughout all this, you barely Hulk out. You know what I mean? Like the only time you Hulk out is when you're shooting me until the gun goes click, right? Which is exactly what Kim was told to do. Shoot him till the gun goes click, till there's no more bullets left. And even still, he just maintains his demeanor for the most part. I like that. I fucking love that. Don't let loose.
One of the interesting things they talked about in the Insider podcast was the shootout. They did not use any extra light. The only light used in that scene was the actual blanks being fired from the gun.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Oh God. And then when the camera's white balance kind of, when it tries to focus on the camera view screen, like it's like your eyes adjusting to the light, right? He's kind of like his vision's a little blurry, and then it focuses on the camera, the view screen, and you're like, oh, that's the light that's in the room. And then he's fumbling around in the dark for the light. And that's like us. We're so confused. Did you think for an instant that maybe Fring didn't get him? Like just for a moment, you're like, ooh, I don't know.
I did. Because you didn't hear anything. And then I thought maybe he'd turn on the light and be like, gotcha, bitch. I'm like, that would...
I was waiting. I was listening for like a clip release and a mag reload, and I'm like, I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. Yeah.
You're exactly where Fring is at. Oh, so good. So good.
We should also congratulate all of the actors and everybody involved who was nominated
for the Emmys.
For the Emmys, yes.
And Tom Schnauz as well,
Finally,
by the way.
Ray.
Yeah, Tom Schnauz was.
Yeah,
nice.
I found that out last minute.
Yeah.
So Ray Seahorn, Bob Odenkirk, Tom Schnauz. Oh, there's somebody else too. But the show also, as a show, I think was also nominated too, right?
Yeah, the show was nominated. Here's an interesting tidbit. They have never been nominated for cinematography.
Right? That's insane.
What?
How?
They have never been nominated for cinematography.
Insane. Oh my gosh.
Breaking Bad was though, right?
Beautiful.
I'm not sure. I just know about Better
That's
Call Saul. I'm not sure about
ridiculous.
that.
That's
That
ridiculous.
is.
Wow.
I'm just glad
That's
Ray got
dumb.
nominated.
That's
I'm just
dumb,
real glad
and the Emmys are
Ray at least got
stupid.
nominated. Yeah, they are. I mean, really, they are. Like award shows and shit are stupid, but it is a sign of respect. Like, show Ray some fucking respect because she deserves a damn nomination.
If she doesn't win, then I will go back to my stance that it is.
You
dumb.
probably will still go back to your stance.
Yeah, I will. It's so stupid. I'm just mad because I don't have one for literally doing nothing.
Oh my
Where
God.
the fuck's my Emmy?
Particularly Rachel. Okay, you know those singing shows? Because I single you out because you sang and whatever. Like whenever like The Voice comes on, Or like, what are those other singing shows? Whatever it is. I always like fold my arms and go, this is bullshit. So like, I mean, you know, after so many years like trying to be a singer-songwriter, and this is not gonna make the show, but, but you're like, this is just a racket. They only let the pretty ones win and all that. Ugh.
I feel that, but I do that with like everything. Like someone has like a cool job and I'm like, that's dumb. I could do that. Like, they like spent like years like refining their skills and I'm just like, no, I could do it
Yeah.
because I'm a
And I can do
child.
it better.
I write the show.
So I'm a baby.
I write this show. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we're probably about to end right now, right? Okay, so let's just go through the list of things that might or might not get edited out that were tidbits, because I think this is kind of cool. So as of this episode, Mike Ehrmantraut is the only other main character, aside from Jimmy, to deal with all the main characters from the series, whether alive or dead, as in Howard's case. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Lalo Salamanca is killed by Gus during a gunfight with the gun that he had hidden in the super lab in Black and Blue, as we know. This leaves Kim Wexler as the current and only remaining main character whose fate is unknown by the beginning of Breaking Bad. Felt like we should mention that to make people shit their pants.
I feel like anybody who's watching this already knows that.
Yeah, but it's also good to state the obvious so that I can be the asshole.
Just dig that knife in a little deeper.
So
You know, we've got all these viewers who like haven't watched Breaking Bad for some reason, but are watching this.
Fucking idiots. Okay, so this is something we sort of also mentioned this episode is the fourth not to use the traditional end credit theme composed by Dave Porter, opting to use another dramatic piece of music to accompany the somber tone of the ending, marking the death of another main character towards the end of the episode. The first 2 episodes to use this device were Lantern, Rock in a Hard Place, and Plan and Execution, following Chuck, Nacho, and Howard's respective demises. Cool. Howard and Lalo are both buried together in a hidden hole by Mike's men, unceremoniously similar to how Jack's men unceremoniously buried Hank and Gomez in an unmarked grave together in Ozymandias. Interesting. Gus's final exchange with Lalo echoes and parallels Nacho's final exchange with Gus in Rock in a Hard Place. Nacho is killed after expressing hatred for the Salamancas, while Gus survives. Interesting mirror. That's it. We basically banged on half of these during our podcast. So credit to Sharon for the most part.
Don't doubt this bitch. She's got it.
Yeah, that was. It's just when I looked at this list, I was like, "That's a lot of parallels and mirrors for this kind of episode."
This lady she just knows.
She
Her
watched
B
the
game's
podcast.
better than our A game.
Yeah, exactly.
Her C game is better than our A- game.
Yeah.
I did cheat this week and go to some podcasts, so I can't really take a lot of credit.
Well, you know, we've always
David, cut that part out.
we've always credited ourselves as more of like, in some ways, as more of an aggregate. Look, even I looked up the whole Mazurka thing. You know, like we all find these facts, even if they're not directly related to the show.
Normally, I'm much more focused, but like I said, it's just this was the worst weekend in the world for the show to come back.
Literally.
I'm sorry, don't most people plan things around me and my life?
Well, yeah, it's
Right.
the 4th of fucking July.
Wait a minute.
Right?
You know
Yeah, often.
you know who we ought to blame? It's Bridget. You know why?
Why?
Because she writes this show.
I do.
She's a baby.
I write every show that we watch. It's so weird.
So send all hate mail
That's why
to.
I need a fucking Emmy.
That's right. Give this woman an Emmy.
Was it for your consideration? ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster, BRUISETER. I have to say that for the
Cruising
podcast.
for a bruising. Brewster.
Punk.
I seriously was like, wait, those were the wrong letters.
Nope, I forgot to change it for this.
Oh, you did. That's
I
right.
did. Whoops.
Oh, God.
Look, I'm just
All
starting
right.
out, guys. I'm not very good at this yet, okay?
Right. She writes the show. It's not that great.
I'm so busy writing all these shows, I don't have time to deal with my YouTube channel.
Right. She doesn't even make the awards show. She's so busy.
Oh,
I'm just a seat warmer.
You know what's so sad about that? You're not really even that.
I'm not even.
and you're still bitter. It's like, I should be.
I can warm a seat just as good as anybody else.
Probably better. Anyway. And with that, everyone, we've been your hosts, Sharon Day, a.k.a. Blazy Gardner, Cosmo09 Rachel Burke, and Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Bruce. That's PONKYBRUISTETER. And I've also been in the shadows, David Cabio from Squawking Dead. You know, I'm here. And if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/Squawking Dead. 5 stars and an eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. But tell us what you like, tell us what you didn't like, but tell us after every episode. Do you like Better Call Saul? Well, do you like us? Well, let the people know, goddammit. And if you really like what we're doing and you want to be a part of these breakdowns, lending some of your insights and thoughts and things while we record to laugh when there's reason to laugh, head over to ko-fi.com/Squawking Dead, create a free ko-fi.com account, and just follow us there. You don't have to buy us coffee. You don't have to join a membership tier. All you got to do is follow. So you know when we record, you know when we drop our unedited episode recordings. And if you really like what we're doing, do those things. 30 days of supported back content if you tip us. And if you join a membership tier for as little as $1, the party keeps on rolling.
Goodbye, everybody. Everybody.
Do your best baby voice, Sharon D.
No.
Oh. She's never been a baby.
We'll see you for
That was going to be
great.
my baby voice. Wow.
Goodbye, guys. We love you.